Hello everybody, this is Hollywood Matt Connolly. I am here with three of the best arm wrestlers in the state of South Australia, three better arm wrestlers than me. We're here with...
Not very difficult.
Oh, thanks a lot. Yes. So we've got Sledge, Matt Benocchi, we've got the Berserker, Las Botta, and we've got Tim Graham, the Viking. I almost called you Tim Viking.
Tim Viking the Graham.
Tim
Viking the Graham.
That's right, absolutely. And we're doing this show because we've got a big episode, a big event coming up on Sunday at the Diamondback Fighting Championships. We've got these two guys, Sledge versus Berserker. This came about because you guys had one of probably the best actual arm wrestle I've ever seen in my life.
It was a good one.
It was amazing. You guys had like such a back and forth match, and when I put that up on YouTube and on Facebook, the Diamondback promoter saw that and he's like, I want these guys on my show, like get them on there.
That's awesome.
We'll put up some money.
Does he want a repeat of that? Because he's going to get the Reader's Digest version. Just bam, bam, bam.
The 6-0.
Yeah, that's it. That's what with arm wrestling is. Sometimes the matches just go in a second, and sometimes it's very rare that you do get a back and forth, and that's why it was so amazing. Because you guys were like literally, you couldn't tell who was. And I didn't want either of you to win. I wanted the match to just keep going forever. It was like it's so hard to watch and not have a favorite, like to be able to cheer. You're like, go, both of you,
Go arm wrestling.
Go arm wrestling. So, looking forward to that. That's this Sunday, and we managed to sneak in another match as well, which is why Tim is here. The Viking, he's going to be taking on Leon Babs. So that should be an interesting match as well. They've had some good matches in the past, so we'll see how that unfolds this Sunday. But a big event. And how are you guys feeling in terms of leading up to this? I know both of you had some injuries leading up to it. Les, you're 100% now, or you're still a little...
Oh, am I allowed to say this with my opponent in the room?
Oh, you can say whatever you like.
Is this going to be recorded?
He's old anyway. Whatever you've got, he's got more.
All right, I'm a scapholunate interval. It's a little bit inflamed. I got it when I started arm wrestling when I was 26.
Yeah.
But I remember standing in the bathroom looking at this thing swollen. I'm like, well, that's the shortest arm wrestling career ever. But it's back with a vengeance. So I reckon I'm just going to try go for the strap and Hail Mary it and pretend I'm going to pin him and then sort of look at the camera and I have this whole scenario in my head, depending on how weak or strong my opponent is. If he's strong, I might just have to go bam and just, all right, give me the money. I need a bail.
Don't worry, he's not strong. You'll be fine.
He is unbelievably strong. What are you talking about?
It's funny because you've got such like a switch that seems to go on. You're like the friendliest guy ever in training, and then when you want to, it'll just be like all of a sudden you're like, okay, here it is. Now you're 300 times stronger than you were 5 seconds ago.
But it kind of matches his personality. You know what I mean?
He normally gets smoked the first round because he's too nice, and he's just like, yeah, we're arm wrestling, and then he's like, oh. That guy just smacked me.
I also have a lat. Boom. Can't move it.
Oh, exactly. That's it. And you've had some injuries that you're coming back from as well.
Yeah, I had a really bad left. That was niggling for ages. But now it's gone.
Oh, good.
So I don't know what I've done to make it better, but my right's fine.
There's lots of twisties, maybe.
Shit.
My right's 99%.
Oh, good.
Just a soreness from just a bit of training, so
yeah,
I don't have any injuries to
lean
back on, unfortunately.
Lasney wants to change the match to a left-hand pull.
His left is much tougher than mine.
Is your left injured as well or not?
No.
Well,
are we change it? Can we change it?
You guys can do whatever you want to do.
I don't want to.
Left is just the party arm.
That's right. Yeah. It's a whole game plan.
I don't like Lass's left. It's pretty nasty.
It's elastic.
Nice when it winds up.
Boing, boing.
You were pinning Taran on left recently.
So, I feel I went to Taran's house and he's a little bit stronger, obviously, in a slow pull. But I think in a month or so, maybe I'll probably be able to hook him on the left. Wow. Right is nowhere near at the moment. But I think by February, Tim and I will probably have a match after the holidays.
Sometime in January, yeah.
In January, and then in February I want to match with, because then I'll have time to sleep and train and less excuses. But yeah, Taron, his right is so much stronger than his left. It's
yeah, absolutely.
and he trains his left harder, but I don't know.
Yeah, his left is nothing to sneeze at, is it? But his right it's just that next level up. And
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Taron Broad that we're talking about here is number one
Tyrannosaurus.
Taron. Tired Rhinoceros it's at the end of competition. But yeah, so through the rankings, if anyone's interested in where our rankings are sitting with the group that's here at the table, so we've got me in very last place. Well, it's 6. Tim's
first, depending on how you look at it.
Well, yeah, exactly. If you flip it upside down, it's all right. But so yeah, sitting at 6 for Hollywood, Matt Connolly, and then we've got Tim the Viking Graham at number 5. Matt Bisco, the engineer, who's not here at the moment, but still a very reputable number 4. And then we've got number 3 sitting at this man right here, Sledge Vinoki, and was displaced from his number 2 ranking by the Berserker sitting across the table over here. But
That was a fun match.
yeah, absolutely. That's the one we were talking about before. So a crazy back and forth, and hopefully we'll get something similar to that this weekend.
Yeah, it's a good war. Both don't know how to quit. Just send it until someone breaks.
But what I figured out about Matt is there was one, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but there was one point where, okay, so what happened was my pronator got tired. Let me just get that out of the way. So I think the first round I flashed him through, and then the second round he stopped me, and I was like, okay, let me feel what a hook feels like. Oh, oopsie daisy, that's not good. And then the third one, I think, then I flashed again because I just managed to get early start on him. And then the fourth one, he stopped me. Like I got everything I wanted, and I was like, yeah, I got to finish him. And he was just crank. But he wasn't fast enough because then he allowed me to get the shoulder in. And this is what I'm trying to say about his personality. There's one point where I was like, okay, I got some position on him, and I went like, you got to get down. And he was like, no, stuff you. And he just brought me over. I was like, oh shit. That's when I was like, ride the lightning. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys were rolling back and forth. You could see that you kept pulling us back across the table, and then you was like smacking to get back through, and it went like that maybe 4 or 5 times.
One thing that's interesting to watch with you guys is that there's so much back and forth in the middle of the table. Like, it's like both of you surge so hard, but then let up quite a bit as well. So the match goes from like left to right, like hugely. Like in my matches, I'll surge, but I'll tend to stay back where I was. Whereas you and Lass just like back and forth. Like it's like one surge is almost a pin, then it's like the opposite side is almost a pin, and then it's just like back and forth.
No,
and you're
that's
like,
because he
no idea.
has such a strong defense close to the pad, and then he pulls you back with his lat, so you feel like you're gonna close him out, and then he just pulls you up, and all right, okay, and then it's like this circular motion where you're like,
That's heavily on my training as well, because I actually don't train
at all. Just like, I think I'll try arm wrestling.
No.
Sorry,
that'd be a lie if I said I don't do anything. But but my training is quite defensive. It really is. I don't pull weights to pin. It's always drag from a losing position. That's just what I train. So yeah. So I'm sometimes if I've cupped a fair bit like at the pin, like I feel like I've got heaps of power down 5 millimeters away from the pad. Yeah. Just that's where my arm is, where I'm training. So, but I have to sort of incorporate a bit more. Attack versus defense. And I might complete the package. Yeah.
You're not a real aggressive person though. Like you're quite a relaxed person. So that probably shows a bit in your style as well.
That's age.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Maybe 10 years, 20 years ago you were aggressive.
Yeah. 21 would have been nice. That's when I was, no holds barred and just going crazy.
Yeah, you tend to arm wrestle like that though. Like you tend to be like fairly easy in the setups. You don't really
I don't
like muck around too much. You don't screw anyone in the setup. You're just like, if you want that, you can have it.
If I'm in a bad position, it's sort of I take it as good training as well, because if I'm in a bad position, I don't mind. But I mean, I do get sort of a bit like when Connolly does a nasty top roll because, you know, he's got half my hand. I still try to defend it, even though I'm not going to. But, you know, it sort of feels good if I can just stop it for, you know, a second.
Yeah. One day, though, you'll just brick wall him and he'll be like, oh, no, it's finally happened.
Whenever he wants to turn it on, it stops. And it's like, I'll get like 30 pins. Like, oh, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm feeling strong. And he's like, oh, you're doing really well. And then all of a sudden he's just like, oh, what happened?
You're feeling really strong, Matt. Now let me just start arm wrestling.
If you give Matt anything, like if he gets any bit of your hand, he'll drop it with his style. It doesn't feel nice because it's just one shot after, and you go, oh, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's very true. He's got enough bicep that, like, if he gets your hand flat, you feel like, I think I've still got enough hand to, like, rein him in, and then he just, like, leans over, and it's just like, oh, that's a lot more than I was expecting when it rolls over.
It's nasty.
But he's added some speed to his repertoire fairly recently, I feel like. I don't know. I haven't trained in like a year, but I mean, it's like when I've been sparring on the table, that stuff just comes through quickly. It just comes together quickly. You know, it used to be like transition and then surge, but now it's just like bam, bam. You know, you have to be like a Jedi, anticipate when it's coming. You know,
he's only fast when you're weak.
Well,
that's what it was.
Talking about fast off the start, your explosion of that hit, of that ready go is unbelievable. And it's so weird because, like, when I'm reffing you and you're like talking to me, and then it's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, no, could you just line my hand up? Yeah, no, that's all right, yeah. And then I'll be like, ready, go, you're bang! It's like, you didn't even take a breath or anything. It was like you just were coiled, and it's like a spring that just goes, like, it's crazy, that speed. And when I've watched matches back where you've, you know, had dominating flash pins, and it's just, from, like, I don't think I've even.
Is there any that come to mind?
Oh, no. Maybe my 5-0 lost you. Yeah, it was like,
that's right.
I don't think the ref has even finished saying ready, go, and you've already pinned. It's like, that's what it says, like, ready, and it's like you pinned already. It's just crazy, that speed.
It's probably like a lot, like, I've always been like a very fast twitch muscle kind of guy. Like, I've always been fast and explosive ever since I was a kid. But I think a lot of it is experience, like in pulling like arm wrestling tournaments and stuff. Like I can't even think how many it'd be probably 25 or something in like tournaments that I've been to. And then I've probably had between 2, if I went 0-2 in the tournament, to like 5-6 matches in each of them. So it's you just get used to different referees and what you want and where you're comfortable and, you know, where your hand's set up, and you just know whether you can go. Like, if I arm wrestle someone like, say, Jordan Davis or even Lasney, like if he's got the right setup, it slows me down a lot, only because if I want to slip, I can still hit fast because I'm not worried about my hand staying anywhere. But if I can't get what I want in my hand, I'll hit a lot slower because I'm more at risk at
hitting himself up.
Yeah, hitting myself out of like hand position.
That's why a strap is so nice versus him, because you lie back on your arm and you sort of aim to the roof so that when he goes sideways, he loses that height. So if he maintains the height outside of the strap, your hand just go.
Yeah, absolutely. Straps definitely help sort of. Doesn't really slow down that reaction time and like the speed at which it develops, but it kind of helps give you a bit more purchase. So you can use a bit more back to drag down and your fingers aren't so vulnerable.
Absolutely. Is it like, you know, you've noticed it, what's interesting with arm wrestling is when you've got a new person and they might attend for, you know, a month or 2 months or something, and when they find their style or find what they're good at and what they naturally gravitate towards, and it's like you can never really tell what somebody's going to be good at when they first get on. And you know, obviously we teach everyone the top roll for safety aspects and because it covers all the fundamentals of, you know, rolling your wrist and, you know, back pressure and all the rest of it. But some people just, you know, they just can't sort of grasp that top roll, but they just want to turn into a hook, and it's like after a couple of weeks, oh, well, fine, we'll, you know, start working on that hook, and then it's like, oh, that feels so much stronger, and it's like, you know, it's fun to find the things that people are really good at, and then for them to build like a game around that skill, around that strength. It's always like, it's cool, and especially when you sort of see them make that connection of like, oh yeah, I feel strong doing that. And it's like, they might not feel strong to you, like, you know, it feels weaker even, but it's like, but to them, they're like, I feel
better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, to find that for each person, it's kind of fun. It's like, I wonder what this person's going to come up with, or what sort of skill they'll gravitate towards.
Yeah, I think when guys tend to have like a strong wrist naturally, they tend to be a lot more comfortable in inside moves because they find it easier to bring their opponent towards them. So you find guys that are real strong, they'll naturally sort of shoulder commit and drive through with their arm. And weaker guys tend to be better top rollers because they've got nothing else, and so they just start listening. Yeah, weaker guys. Lasny can't hook to save his life.
I still can't press. I have no idea when it comes to pressing. It's just like I'm slowly starting to get the idea of it. But
yeah. Well, last time I was at training a couple of weeks back, I think we did some pressing, and it was starting to get there. It almost feels like an elbow connection. Yeah. Like with you, like, I don't know if it's almost like your brain's still holding you back from it. Like, you're probably capable of it. Like, you've got the triceps for it, but it's almost like you're quite not ready to just send it.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like,
some guys we have a guy in South Africa called Martin van Wyk, and his arm can't close. He's kind of like Michael Todd. And he just, when he lies on you and he puts his body weight on you, you can feel it. You know, if I do that, my arm will just collapse onto my shoulder and I'll get a foul. So now you start to try to develop a press where you're either going to try and fall past your shoulder so that your shoulder doesn't fall into your hand, or you're going to try and bring it forward like you're sawing a log.
Yeah,
and that's so damn weak. But for some guys, it seems to be extremely strong. Where they've got a very strong brack, they can keep their hand in front of them and just like drive forward, you know, like a pec deck movement, but forwards and backwards. Other guys probably just, I don't know. But John Brasing said the same thing. He said it took him 3 years to become confident in a hook, even though everybody knows he's glorious inside and outside and everywhere. He's got the full spectrum. But his press took even longer, he said.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
And he's excellent. If you ever heard him talking about the press, he even talked with Ryan about it. He just said like how important it is to commit as fast as possible. Like if you're going to go for an inside move, and that probably comes from he wasn't very good at it to start with, so he knew he had to be real fast to get in on top of it. But like just going like mentally, like if I'm going to go for it, I'm just going to go 100%, not worry about if something breaks, because when you go slow, that's when you tend to get dragged out like into an awkward position. But if you transition as fast as possible, you can often get your shoulder in before the other guy has time to like start to drag back. And once you're over his arm and he drags back, he'll end up pinning himself that way normally, unless he's way stronger. But.
Absolutely. And he's got a very interesting match coming up against Devin Larratt.
Yes, man, I can't wait for that.
It's going to be very good to see. Do we have any predictions as to how that's going to go?
I think... Like, you can never bet against the greatest of all time.
I already have.
Yeah, I know, you can. But so I think at the end of the day, Devin will win, and that will probably just come down to conditioning, I think. But 100% John will take rounds.
Oh, yeah?
At least one, maybe two.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, the only way John's going to take a round is if he peels back those fingers, and
he will do it. He's always had a stronger hand than Devin.
When last has Devin's hand been challenged in a fight? In a real fight.
Last time they pulled?
So 2015?
Yeah. But John was injured in 2015. At WAL, when he cracked Devin, he was injured.
Well, I mean, Devin's hand popped back versus Dave Chafee. Dave gave him a bit of pronation pressure, but I mean, I think Devin gave up a bit of cup to secure more pronation.
To get his pronation,
and hang there like a like a highly specialized King's mover. But
started there.
Yeah, sorry. But no one's really gone for Devin's hand.
Most people don't.
In the last couple of years, have they? I mean, Devin's got that height, but I mean, John's got that thickness.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Saplenkov did. Saplenkov top rolled.
Oh, but that was left. But
yeah, true. I don't know. I just reckon John, like, I haven't watched the stuff he did with Michael Todd, but I heard him talking in one of his Monday Night Live things he does after that. And he said arm wrestling with Michael made him feel even more confident that he's where he needs to be to at least like hang with Devin. Like, and that might not be like in the full spectrum of hanging with Devin. So like, I don't think like, you know, you can't discount the fact that Devin's still been arm wrestling and his endurance will still be better, even though John's been back about 6 months now. But I think in terms of hand strength and that old man strength, like no one has old man strength like John in the hand. And John's...
And the hand strength is the last thing to go in an old person, right?
Exactly.
So maybe his hand is still
so
right there.
I don't think his arm will keep up with Devon long term. But I reckon first 2 pins could be John.
Wow.
And then, because I think later rounds he'll just be too gassed. Like, but he originally joked he was going to come in at 250 pounds. But then he was like, nah, I was just mucking around. I'm going to be 230. But he's now weighing 245. Wow. And he is probably going to be 250.
He's leaning down too. He's getting relatively leaner than his couch potato form. And the most impressive part of his transformation after viewing the videos is his lat has just popped out. Like, you can see through his shirt. His lat is now massive.
Yeah, he's definitely on the right train there. So, I don't know. What do you guys think?
What, are they doing 6 rounds?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it is 6 rounds, and it has to be a shutout for the State Kings. The betting, Arm Bets made it the State Kings thing made a win loss. So it has to be a shutout. So because Devon wanted it not to be, so that he could take the mickey out of Brezink. Once he had a match or 2 into him and had bled him, he was going to muck around and beat him like every which way. But Devon said the other day he's actually concerned because it's a shutout now. If he wants to win any money, he has to beat him 6-0.
Oh, 6-0 or nothing.
Yeah, correct.
Really?
Yeah, correct. Wow, so 6-0. I mean, his flights probably get paid or whatever, that. But to make any money, it has to be 6-0. And Devon's actually concerned because he's like, I don't know if I can win 6-0. And it won't let me do everything that I wanted to do now. Like, he's like, I can't muck around because if I drop 1 round, I don't get paid.
Wow, that's insane. That's the sort of thing that would make that betting site, like, they've really shot themselves in the foot with that because, I think arm wrestlers in the future might go, well, I don't want that condition. Like, I'll find somewhere else.
It's not normal, but I think it's because Devon and John both have a history of dropping rounds in the interest of having more fun. So, John is well known. Like, there was a very famous match with Farid Uzmanov, or who's now called Farid Osmanli, from Turkey in the States. I think it was in Vegas. And they had an absolute war in the prelims. They went to the finals. Exactly. They went to the finals.
2006.
And right before the finals, John walks up to the scoring desk and goes, what's the difference between the money for first place and the money for second place? And they were like, it's like $200 difference. And he goes, no worries. So he went in a hook with Farid. And Farid at the time was like one of the best hook pullers in the world. I've seen this, And John was literally like, oh, well, if it's not like $1,000, I'll do it. Like, I'll go where he is the strongest dude, even though he's stronger than me, most likely. And John's done that heaps of times. If there's not heaps of money on the line, he'll just go, all right, where are you the strongest? I'm going to beat you there. So when you got a dude like that, and then Devon's the same. Devon will he'll play with his food like a cat, and so they both have that capability. So if you're betting on a result of say like 2-4, and John might be up, but then give away a round because he's just mucking about, you've got the same problem. Yeah. Like, they're not there to, like, if it's not a complete whitewash, they're not there to like dominate. They're there to see where they can beat you in every which way. So
the betting is not like you don't just bet on the winner. You have to get a 6-0. Like, it's not like you can't just pick Devon to win. You can't just pick John to win.
Yeah, correct. You can't just pick a winner like any score. I haven't been on there, to be honest. Like, I'm not into betting much myself, but I've heard a lot about the match, and I'm pretty sure it's literally like you pick Devon 6-0.
Wow.
Or John 6-0.
Wow, that's opening the window for another betting agency to be like, we'll take your bets and just bet on the winner.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about?
I think Devon's going to win 6-0 anyway.
You reckon?
I think.
You reckon 6-0?
I think Devon 6-0 as well.
I think the order of the matches should have been flipped. You need to build up to the big boss because he has Zoloev in February, and then he has Ingan Terzi in April, and then he's got who's the last guy again? Someone, I don't know.
Oh, I haven't heard of another match.
But it's like Devon is the big bad. Why don't you just have Ingan, then Zoloev, then Devon?
Yeah, I think the thing with Devon is that Devon's the one super heavyweight that is easiest for John to deal with because he's slow.
Well, he came off his so-called his boxing match with Thor, so maybe John sees the opportunity. Is like, all right.
Well, I think it's a bit of that because like Devon obviously is on the vitamin S for his match with Michael Todd, and he was obviously massive. Like I think he got to like nearly 300 pounds.
He got
like,
over 300. He was over. 300.
Was it over 300?
Yeah.
Was it?
Stack of pancakes.
Yeah, it was maple syrup and pancakes. Sorry, important diet. So he was obviously up that high, and then he had that match like I think it was like 8 weeks later with Thor.
Yeah.
So he's obviously come way down because then he was back down to like.
But he only came down to 270.
No. He was like 230 or 240 on the fight.
2 weeks after his match with Thor.
Yeah, so he come back up,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like I imagine the rest, like if you've had 8 weeks off, like cycles of pancakes and maple syrup, I imagine that would affect, like your ability coming back up. Like you would take a bit of time to get going. Like other than the water retention and things like that you'd experience. Whereas John's been 6 months also on a diet of doctor-prescribed pancakes and maple syrup. He's actually pretty open about that. He's actually talked about it on his podcast and stuff.
Yeah, he's the TRT, testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah, so he, it'll be interesting. I don't know, like whether Devon's just say a little bit down on what he could be. Say if they'd have met when he pulled Michael, it probably would be a 6-0 to Devon. But I don't know. John's hand is so strong. Like you can't bet against John. How many times has John Brzezinski beaten people that everyone in the world said, like Saplenkov?
What do you mean when he was still active? Because he just came out of 5 years retirement.
Yeah, but he's had 40 years of being the best in the world. He's in a
awesome.
sport,
absolutely.
But in a sport like arm wrestling, where it's like cumulative build up of strength and tendons and ligaments and stuff. It's not like say football where like you're screwed after 30. Like when you turn 30, like John, like it's one of those things that he barely would have been weaker. Like Ryan Bowen pulled him when he hadn't been training for like 3 or 4 years, and he still smoked Ryan, even in the strap. Like he was like, yeah, you're really strong, Ryan. He doesn't train. He sits on the couch and drinks beer all day, watches TV, he was at the time, and smokes Ryan Bowen, who's like been training 8 years solid without a break. Like the dude's still strong as crap. And now he's 6 months in.
He's an absolutely amazing athlete. But I think the only reason I'm betting against him and saying Devon is just the short amount of time back in. I think 6 months is not quite long enough, I don't think. And I think if it would have been different, like you were saying, if he'd gone against those other Engen and the other guy as well and had success against them, it would have given me a better frame of reference rather than just he's beaten Paul Lin, he beat Chant Shaw, there was the tournament that he won, so it's like okay, but it was still not overly competitive against like those guys, but there was still it wasn't just like complete utter slamming through flash bins. I just don't think the amount of time back in is soon enough for him to beat Devon Larratt. And I think in a year he could do it.
Do you mean at all? Like any rounds? Do you think
I don't think he would take any. No, I think what will happen is that Devon will bleed his energy in that first round, and that'll be it.
He'll pin himself. He said it as well. If he doesn't get what he wants in the first round, he'll just pin himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. And that's good because he knows the game Devon plays. Like Devon will just try and dick around as much as possible. Hopefully the reffing's good. Hopefully the reffing's strict.
Who is the ref?
It's supposed to be Bill Collins.
Oh, well, then perfect. Yeah.
It should be good because Devon will.
Bill Collins is a guy that puts the strap low enough.
Oh, yeah.
Unlike certain refs.
yeah. Put it down on your elbow, Les.
Just put it around my ankle.
Got like a pulley system worked out so you can just use your leg strength.
What do you think of Bart? What was his name? Bart
Wood.
What do you think of Bart Wood from the WoW?
He's good as like a WoW referee. Like WoW is meant to be like just get the match started.
Rapid fire matches. And
I think he's good like that. Like he gets it.
He has enough ego to keep himself in the flow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think he gets the match going easily. Like he's like, everyone's here to see an arm wrestling match, not everyone. Like it's more for like the spectacle of a good arm wrestling match as opposed to the purest these guys need to have like a fair start. Like it,
Yeah.
he's less concerned about it being perfect than just it's close enough. Send it. You know,
That's my perfect style as well.
Yeah.
That's what I like. That's from an audience perspective or from a promoter, or if I'm making videos or wanting people to see arm wrestling, I don't want them to see like 3 fouls and like you know what I mean, setting up and for 10 minutes and then the match starts and it's a foul and then it's like, oh, it's a pin, but no, your elbow came off right at the end and it's like restart and then 20 minutes to get the strap on. And
Yeah, but I mean, the clown show that can result of a bad start is also unsavory. And I feel like if the competitors want to win, I mean, look at they know they're going to get away with lots. They know they're going to get warned a lot. They know they're not going to get penalties easily. In the setup. If you had slightly more strict, like WAF married with then you could like arm wars, but a little bit more free. Then you could encourage players to listen to the ref, keep that wrist straight, and start quickly as well. And still have the running fouls, but this leaves a very bad taste in my mouth. And a lot of the Europeans that came over, obviously they're not used to it. Who said it? Giannis Amelin said it when he tore his thumb open against Cobra Rhodes. He said, cool, maybe if I get used to the clown show, I'll come back again. But a lot of them, and Hermes Gasparini said it as well. He's like, what the hell is this reffing, man? And you don't have to maybe be as strict as WAF, but it does leave a lot of questions when you get started like this, especially top roller versus hooker.
I think it matters. It matters particularly if you get like pullers that haven't arm wrestled like that before, like with those setups. Like I find with guys like Matt Mask and Devon, because they're both fairly like used to it. They both know, right, when the ref closes our hands, I've got to take everything I can, and I probably won't get called for it. Whereas you get guys like Gasparini coming from WAF refereeing, and he's sitting there like, all right, the referee said don't move, so I won't move because I'm wearing a ref script and I'll get fouled.
Yeah, but you know what the problem with that is?
And Matt Mask is like,
yeah, but you know what? But you know what the problem with that is? The problem is that guys have different strengths at different areas in the chain, down from start to pad.
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't take a genius to figure out, okay, I can cheat the first second before the go. Yeah. Everyone will cotton onto that within the same match. It's easy.
Yeah.
The problem is I might not be able to match a Matt Mask right in the center of the table with this high hand position.
Yeah.
And then I've lost my strength before the go.
Yeah.
I don't feel that that's fair.
Yeah, no, I don't. I agree. I don't think it's ideal. Like it needs to. You're right. It needs to be some kind of balance because as a competitor, like it depends. If you look from a fan's perspective or an audience, Matt's right. Like you just want to get the thing started, and if both guys are fairly like fair, like say, like arm wrestling Sledge, he's an easy guy to start as long as he's fairly close. Like he's not going to fuss about, and he'll just start. Whereas me, if I'm in a casual match, I'll let it start. But if I'm in like an AAF tournament, like Australian Arm Wrestling Federation tournament, or there's money or anything like that, I am not going to let that guy start with anything. I'm going to be like, if I can get the referee to make his wrist backwards and his hands open and his thumb not clamped down, I will do it.
So which is it going to be on Sunday?
I'll
think of the fans.
I'll smoke Leroy anyway.
Just start yourself like this.
Yeah.
That's what Ryan Giant Moulton has been doing lately. His style, I don't know if you've seen what he has been doing, but it's sort of like a modified, deliberately losing your hand off the start.
Yeah, because he wants his pronation.
Yeah, to drag
the
body down. It's very strange.
It's terrible.
I don't know. I mean, it's good that he's trying different things, but
he's got the right idea. Like if he has some kickback where his wrist is obviously bent backwards, it will allow him when he hits to protect his pronation. So it's the right idea for what he's trying to do. It's definitely the wrong. I think it's definitely the wrong thing to be practicing this early on. I know he's currently practicing it because his wrist was hurting, but I had a chat to him a few weeks back at training about like ways he can try and heal up his wrist because he's just finding he can't hook or anything because it's so painful.
Where's it painful?
I think it's in the bottom like of his wrist down here, which it is like when you're hooking and you're trying to chop. If you can't chop, your hook's pretty much useless. If someone tears you open, it feels like your wrist is splitting apart. So I was working with him on that. But I think like he needs to work more on that and getting that healed, because a King's move is like, it's good, but it's not going to train the fundamentals very well.
I don't feel like these guys are doing a genuine King's move anyway, just extending themselves and hanging off the table. You know, you need some impressive bicep and pronated power to hang in a real King's move, and it's only really viable in a strap. And a lot of these guys, if like, no offense to my club buddies, but if they just climbed on top of it and squashed downwards, that's the end of their King's move, because they don't have that rise necessary to hang in a King's move.
Yeah.
They will call it a King's move because now two guys are dangling off the table. But that's more like a pauper move, you know?
Yeah, a peasant. The peasant.
Everyone drop into the peasant. So that's what it is.
And I think that really showed, like, Ryan's match with Ryan Dalton. This is his match with Corey Lynn. Corey used to have a very weak wrist. Like, you could flop his wrist back super easy previously, and he worked really hard on making that wrist stronger. And because he's got a tiny hand, like, so it's really hard for him out of straps to hook people, but that's where he's strong. And he's worked so much on getting his wrist strong that he flash pinned not quite flash pinned, but he pinned Ryan quite quickly in all three matches. And then the one that Ryan held on to was the one after the match where they had just another pull for fun. And then he got his King's move and he pinned Corey. But after the match, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not the same thing. But the difference being that Corey's working a lot more on the fundamentals and cupping and everything like that. And I think you can't train that with the King's move. You can train a little bit of pronation, but...
It was almost like it was weird because you would roll through Corey and his wrist, he would deliberately let his wrist roll back, and it was weird because the resistance would be like, it was gone around. All of a sudden.
It's important though, if you try to King's move like pronate with your wrist cupped, you actually end up not being able to pronate. So the reason you kick back is because it protects your hand. So you can just pronate all the way out. So that is, you can't really do a King's move without kickback. Right. Like Michael Todd, you watch all of his matches with Devon. When Devon or Dave or anyone surges against him, he's in the middle. He tries to get his cut back, and as soon as someone goes to surge, he just kicks it straight back. Because it protects his pronation, and then they lose their cup trying to pin him. Yeah. So he just holds his pronation and he just rocks back and forth like this until they start to get tired, and then he can come back up and press. So.
Yeah. Favorite arm wrestler, Sledge?
Does he even know any arm wrestlers?
Less.
Yeah, that was going to be my answer.
It'd have to be John, just the fact that he's sort of related to me.
It's Polish.
Polish
The funny thing is, though, if I grabbed my grandfather's picture, because he's Polish too, obviously, right, they look so similar.
Oh, right.
Like, it's uncanny. Yeah, I should actually grab a picture. And then I can just tell by his hand, because, grandfather had a massive hand.
Yeah.
It was just huge. Like, I used to say shovel hands, But yeah, the same thing, exactly the same. So I don't know, the lineage of, or maybe just someone that works hard with a shovel, maybe.
I think it's some Eastern European genes. There's a lot of those genes out that way.
It seems with strongman as well. Like there's powerlifting and those sorts of really explosive movements. A lot of the Eastern Europeans do fantastically well.
I like John's. The way he starts too is very fair.
Demeanor, yeah,
it's very fair. It's
like,
no mucking around. It's just in the center.
He doesn't want to get screwed, but he's happy for you to feel happy as well. I'm not like that. I'm happy if I feel way stronger than you.
He's not going to sit there going.
But you know what's weird about John's setup? He actually sets up like this, like he's holding a pencil. Have you seen? He actually discussed it in the 90s. There was like a FAQ with John Brzenk, 2 pages long, and I read it. And he was like, he doesn't generally cup his thumb, but he just wants to feel like he's applying pressure with his index finger into the bottom of his thumb to generate back pressure. And almost no one does that. I don't know if you've seen.
He was talking about that in one of his podcasts. He actually, when he cups his hand, he actually only uses his bottom 3 fingers and his wrist. He actually considers fingers not that strong, and not that important. And his top finger, he doesn't use at all. he said like literally all he does with that is just focuses on rising it.
Yeah.
But his cup, even out of the strap, he doesn't worry that much about his fingers. He just sets up right, squeezes his bottom 3 fingers, doesn't worry about his top one, and just it's all wrist flexion, which is quite interesting. I think because it probably helps you re-grip much faster in the setup if you're not squeezing the top finger.
I mean, over the years, I've been so uncomfortable. Have you ever started in a match and like, okay, I'm going to cup it. No, this is awkward. I'm going to not cup it. I'm going to cup it with 2 fingers, maybe 1 finger. And you just can't get comfortable until they're ready to go. And you're like, okay, no cup, no cap. Sorry.
Yeah.
Capping your thumbs. But John just does the same thing every time he sets up like he's holding a pencil. What a master.
Yeah.
It is interesting, yeah.
What about favourite arm wrestler?
Oh, me, probably Ogujan Kochek, the middle is
Turkish
middle heavyweight Turkish arm wrestler, because the thing I like, him and Aktayev, Talgat Aktayev, they have the same kind of supinating shoulder roll that they can finish you off with in a blink of an eye. But what I like about that mindset is the urgency. I mean, they have an ego, obviously, but they don't care what they look or sound like until the pin happens. You understand what I'm saying? They come through with a rush of urgency and rage that is seldomly matched. And I just like the fact that they can put them. Their arm is like a crowbar. They're humorous. In Afrikaans we call it a kufut. So he's just jamming his elbow in there, and come what may, he just turns the shoulder like a bone statue, and then he chops down with this amazing supinating cup, and then he sends a lot of players home that way, and like it's almost like Leon. He chops down, he checks the ref. All right, cool. He goes to salute, and off he goes. You know?
Holds up his Turkish.
I mean, fierce, very national. A strong sense of nationalism, and I like that as well. And they're just there to get the job done. Him and Miraz, the young, the women's lightweight champion.
Oh, Kiraz.
Kiraz.
She's a unit. She is
very successful, and the guy who has the same sort of thing as Kirdagali Ongarbayev, the ethnic Kazakh arm wrestler. It's just a pity we don't see these guys together often. A lot of politics in European arm wrestling, but I mean, Ongarbayev comes from that Kazakh arm wrestling club. It's something with an S.
Shadara.
Yeah, is it Shadara?
Yeah.
They've got like 4,000 guys in their club, like 2,000 guys.
They train kids from 4 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. It's a national sport and they get paid.
Yeah, and remember when we started training together, I said the flop wrist defense should be called the Kazakh, because all of those guys do it. Their elbows are so tough. But maybe they disappear after their 20s because the elbow's given.
A lot of them a lot of the Europeans tend to fade out in their 30s, but I don't know if that's so much wear and tear. Like, it's probably a bit of wear and tear. It's probably a bit of, like, depending on the athlete, some of the supplements and stuff they're using as well. But it might be the area that they live in. Like, after a certain age, there's maybe less opportunity to be at the top making money, like government sponsorship and stuff. So it's a harder life, so they go and focus on education and stuff. I'm not sure whether they go and get a job and go, oh, arm wrestling's fun, but it's not feeding my family, sort of thing. So I don't know if it's that as well, but those Kazakhs are beasts.
Favorite
arm wrestler. Oh man, I've got so many. Like, I have so many.
You can name a few. That's fine.
Yeah,
myself.
Sledge.
I just love me.
Yeah. The Viking's pretty good. It's got my very favorite it's got to be John Brzezinski.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even so much that he's like popular. He's won heaps. Watching him arm wrestle is like, it's like the ultimate in how to arm wrestle. Like, you watch that dude and he will go from like a setup that's not that great. He'll stop some dude at the bottom of the pad, like just above the pad. He'll bring the guy back in a solid as hook, and then just for fun, he will slow like a hot knife through butter, just pop back out into a top roll. It's not even like a surprise. He literally will just be like, I'm coming this way. And you just see the guy just like, holy crap. Like 2015 A1, the last A1 Russian tournament they did.
Yeah.
He pulled against Zaloyev, Hajimurat Zaloyev from Russia. And Haji has beaten John before. And yeah, it was just amazing. Like John just went into a hook with him, and he, for some reason, he was a bit fired up and he wanted to prove a point with Haji. And he literally just bangs in a hook and then just leans back, like doesn't drag, just leans literally straight back like this,
and
posts
Zolo
through his
is one
wrist.
of the most feared cups in the world.
He just literally just posts his wrist through Haji's, and Haji's hand just cracks back, and John doesn't even finish cracking it. He just goes straight to the side and just buries him. And it's just like, it's just nuts. Like to be able to transition slowly is like so strong.
Yeah.
So, like, watching him, there's a few other, like, Russians and things like that I've always liked. Yeah, Kochak is a real good guy from Turkey. Engin Terzi is another guy that amazing to watch. Like, I wish there was more footage of Engin's matches.
When he was younger, yeah.
When he was younger. So, at, like, 60 kilos, not even, I think he was 55 for a long time of his career. He went to the States and pulled guys like Ron Barth. He has wins over Ron Barth. Ron Barth is an American elite heavyweight.
I haven't seen
He's got wins over, I think he's pinned Jerry Cadaret. I think he's pinned Travis Bajan. Like, he's got wins on pretty much everyone. Like, and he there was times where he was in the States, because he lived in the States for about 5 years, I think. He would pull every tournament he could, and over there's heaps of them. And he would pull 6 classes in a row.
Jeez.
So he would literally, like, he'd be on stage and there'd be like Engin Terzi to table 1. He'd win, Engin Terzi to table 3. He'd win in another class, Engin Terzi to table 6. You know, he'd just be going back and forth between classes. So he'd pull someone 55 kilo, then he'd pull like 130 kilo
but to
guy.
be fair, those lightweight, it's more like just a warm-up for him, just bang.
Yeah, no, exactly. But, like, you know, like, he'd get into the higher end of those classes and there'd be guys, Ron Barth, you know, John would be in there. I think he's got a win over John, but it's like, it's one win or something. But, you know, but it's just nuts, you know, like the guys he would beat, you know.
But he encapsulates that,
technician.
what I said, that crazy Turkish mentality. There's a funny story about Engin. He came to South Africa in 2013 and I trained with him at Terrence's house, Terrence Opperman.
Awesome.
And he told us, we had dinner and he told us the story how he started arm wrestling. Because I asked him, hey man, how did you start arm wrestling? He said he used to help his mother, and his sister was a florist. His mother was a florist. And some customer came in that knew his mother, was like, and he arm wrestled his mother. And then when he left, Engin was like, cool, I'm going to arm wrestle my mother. And he lost to his mother. And he was like, okay, cool, she's got old lady strength. And he tried his sister.
This is when he was a teenager.
He was 16.
Well. Yeah,
I mean,
16.
you
and his mum beat him.
Yeah, and then he tried his sister, and then his sister beat him as well.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I'm going to train so damn hard. And in the buildings of Istanbul, he used to do flat finger pressure training on the ledge of a building, so if he falls off, he's dead, you know. And that's the crazy. But if you've seen him when he was younger, going on these tournaments, he would like pin a guy like Oguzhan would, like just flash a guy, and then he would yell and yank his arm off the table, and then would like walk into the crowd like super angry.
Yeah.
And then, so he would keep himself psyched up, you know. But the calmest, nicest guy, if you meet him, and I mean, he just bans everyone on Facebook, but I mean, he's really nice in person.
Yeah.
It's like this guy, when you get fired up at the table, it's crazy. It's like a different person.
Yeah, I just haven't beaten Ron Barth yet.
No, not yet. One day,
Haven't
Ron.
been angry enough.
I've arm wrestled with Ron Barth though.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, when he came to the expo.
Yeah, he came to the Arnold's expo in Melbourne. What was it, like 2017? I think.
I think I've seen photos of it. Yeah.
He is way bigger in person than he looks on.
But it's always like that. They look unnaturally proportioned in real life. You know, guys who have been grinding.
He was huge. Like, he was way bigger. Like, he would have had 20-inch arms.
Wow.
Like, I kid you not. He was massive. I was like, you look like you've got like 17 max on like camera. Like, he never looks that big on camera. Like, he looks strong, but like I'm talking about his biceps and triceps, which for an arm wrestler is sort of unusual. He was like massive.
Wow.
I couldn't believe how big, and he's, what is he, like nearly 60, I think. He's 59 or something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
How'd you go against him?
Oh,
you beat
yeah.
him easy. Yeah.
Easy win. No, I couldn't move him.
Wow.
Yeah. No, he let me have everything and I couldn't pin him. So,
That's crazy, isn't it?
no, he's super strong.
Has John ever come down?
Yeah, he came down 2014, Arnold Classic. I got into the sport literally like 2 months after he had come to Australia.
That would be cool.
So,
It'd
Yeah.
be cool if he came down to actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beat him.
if you look back, if you YouTube search 2014 FitX arm wrestling, because it used to be called FitX instead of Arnold Classic, there's a video that the AAF put out, and that was they basically had like it was like
Pin for $1,000 or something.
yeah, it's like a pin for $1,000. So
Oh,
if you
that
could
was the
pin John
last
Brzezinski,
Rohrbachen one.
yeah. So and like pretty much everyone went up, like people in the crowd and
Yeah, I
everything.
saw
Every
that,
arm wrestler that was there went against him, and the only guy that got close was Lars Rohrbachen from Norway. He's strongman. I think he's about 140 kilo at the time.
Super
And-
tricep press.
Yeah, Lars is was a professional strongman at the time, and he had done a lot of arm wrestling as well.
6 years of arm wrestling at that point.
Yeah.
But he also tore his peg trying to pin John.
Did he?
Yeah.
He
Oh,
put
wow.
everything in it, didn't he?
Yeah,
his
and
life
he,
on the
he
line.
got like within millimeters of
Yeah,
pinning John, and I think he was probably, I don't know what number of person he was,
It was
but
somewhere near the end though.
yeah, but even so, like no one would have challenged John, like none of the other arm wrestlers there. And John again I don't think he'd been arm wrestling for quite a few years at the time. 2014, I think. Actually, was it 2013 or 20? Might have been 2013. I'm thinking of.
Oh, after surgery, you mean?
Yeah, he hadn't done much arm wrestling and had a
Yeah.
surgery, so like he wasn't even in that good shape and managed to hold off like a dude with like an insane triceps press. Like I've watched Lars
Scary.
press through Larrett, like Devin Larrett, like nothing.
Wow.
Like 2015 when Devin came over, I was training a fair bit with Devin in a week while I was down there. And Lars was there as well for a week or two while he's over for the Arnold Classic. And he was just like pressing through Devin like he wasn't there. And Devin was like, man, you got to come to the States and like take on some people. And he's like, oh, all I've got is my triceps press. Like I don't have any. He's like, who cares? He's like, that triceps press will go through 96% of the arm wrestlers in the States. He's like, you'll smoke people with that. He's got pins on Matt Mask.
Wow.
Didn't he have an arm wars match against Matt Mask?
Yeah, he did.
yeah.
Was I think Matt ended up winning because once Matt figured out how to get him outside his shoulder, like it's kind of hard to hold on to Matt once he gets what he needs. But
A WAL match would have been good though. Those first couple of rounds. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
imagine Lars versus Jerry Caderet.
No,
That'd be
thanks.
like snap.
Oh, God.
just explodes in the middle. Both flop pressing.
Yeah, absolutely. They say ready, go. It's just like their arms stay and their bodies just fall.
Their bodies just snap.
Craziness. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah.
What about you, mate? Who's your favorite?
Well, it just happens to be this man right
Oh,
here.
stop
I've
it.
said this before.
No, you can't
No,
be
it
me.
can be you. It is. And the reason is, you taught me everything about arm wrestling. You're the one that started the club. I wouldn't be sitting here right now if it wasn't for you. Yeah, plus your style is one of the most entertaining things ever to watch. You get so fired up for a match. It's still one of my favorite moments ever in arm wrestling.
I know
At
this.
you love this bit, yeah. At the state tournament, Tim was getting fired up for his match, and he's whipped his head up quickly, and the glasses came off and went flying, and he, without even moving, he just snatched them out there, snatched it, put them back on, and then everyone's just gone, okay.
That was. I think I just pinned the guy. I think I flash pinned someone, and I was so pumped, and I just swung around like screaming, like I do. And they just like, because I was sweating, my glasses, literally flew off my face. And it was so weird because I couldn't see a thing. Like I'm blind as a bat without glasses. Like I can't see like 6 inches in front of me kind of thing. And somehow I remember it because I was like, oh crap, that was really good.
That was
like I literally
matched it perfectly.
I literally reached just like out somewhere and I grabbed him perfect and I was just like, back on my face. I like slapped him back on and I was like, did anyone see that? Like, I was like, that was amazing.
Everyone saw that. That was awesome. Yeah, for sure. But no, yeah. So yourself, and then worldwide, Brzezinski, obviously. My first exposure to arm wrestling was pulling John.
Yeah,
documentary.
mine too.
Yeah.
Sitting in the computer, I was bored of watching porn. I was like, let's see who the best arm wrestler in the world is. And it was Brzezinski. It was back then, I mean, that was 2012, but Wiki still said the best guy was Brzezinski for years after 2009. When
He still
when
is.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
And
Even if he's dead, he's still the best.
but that tells a tale to like an initiate, because you see a regulation table that tells a story, and then you see like not the biggest dude in the world, and you're like, oh, okay, so smaller guys can also rock. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's what draws a lot of people in.
I think his attitude, as we've said a couple of times, just the humbleness, willing to start fairly with everybody. He's not like, he's not winning just because he's humongous and, can dominate everybody. He's got, fantastic technique. He's always friendly to everybody. I think those are really big attributes as to what makes him popular, is that, he's willing to, when he has a match, it's like, he's gonna win, but he's gonna win fairly, and he's gonna shake your hand afterwards. And I think over the years, you've always seen that. You've never seen those moments where he's gotten, out of line or anything with anybody. And
but people really try and hold him to that standard, and the moment a little bit of cockiness comes through, they're like, this guy. So,
I think as well, like, one thing that's made him endearing to a lot of people is like his desire to go where you're strong. Like, so much of arm wrestling is making the other guy feel like he's not strong. Like, it's fighting to get your advantages while disarming the other guy. And John was always like, unless there was huge money on the line, he was always like, where are you the strongest? He'd ask people, he'd be like, where's this guy the strongest? And people were like, do not go inside with this guy, or do not try top roll this guy, or whatever. And he'd be like, cool. He'd be like, let's go on a hook. You want the strap? Let's do it.
Yeah.
And that's so cool to have someone that's that confident in who they are. And, like, as a competitor, like, I'm not yet that. Like, I'm still scared of losing. Like, I've got no reason to be. There's no money on the line, but I'm still like, I don't know if I can try that. Like, he might beat me. And it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, but it's still in my head. Whereas it's like the only reason John isn't like that is he's like, it'll be $1,000 less if I lose this, so I'll win it. Yeah. But if it's like $200, he's like, yeah, send it. Yeah. Let's see if you can. Let's see if I can beat you. Yeah. It's more just proving it to himself than anyone else.
I mean, John is elite, and then all his components are at a 90 to 100.
Over 9,000.
But then you get like a Bayesian. He's 100 in the top roll, and he's like a 20 in the hook. Obviously, he can't do the same thing, and he knows it. He's going to lose versus Chop. In a hook.
Correct. But it's so cool. I think that's what, like, one of the things that just makes him so interesting is that he can, like. He's just good everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So John would be the number one, and then Devon number two for me. Just an awesome guy. When he came to the seminar down here in Adelaide, which is how I actually got involved with the club and everything like that. Just arm wrestled every single person that turned up to that thing. Was there for like 4 hours. Friendly to everybody, real character.
Very down to earth.
Yeah, I love his style, how he'll bleed people out, and it's like, he's got that stop, and it's like, he's got to make him like get tired, and it's like, and he knows it as well. He's like,
yeah.
I love that from like a audience perspective when you're watching it. You're like, he's got him, he's got to waste it, and they're like, somebody doesn't have a clue what they're watching. They're like, but he's losing. It's like, he's not. No, he's sitting there deliberately.
He's nowhere near losing.
That's right.
He's just recharging his batteries.
And then staring at the crowd and being like, I've got this, I'm fine, and then getting the pin. I love that side of it. There's so many fun aspects to it, and for me, still learning like a lot of the European stuff and trying to find those awesome matches from those years ago.
Actually, if I could add one person to John, it'd be Frode Horgeland from Norway. That dude, if you want someone that's fun to watch, he's like that, like Devon, like that, except I would say he has better matches than Devon. So Frode is like amazing in a hook, but he also loses his wrist all the time. And he says he doesn't try to, but his elbow is iron. Like, he can lose his hand entirely, and he will literally hold on for ages with no hand, no bicep barely, just shoulder commitment and elbow commitment. And like, his matches are amazing. So he's featured really heavily in Arm Wars in Neil Pickup's series. And Neil loves him because he will make any match. He never turns down a match. Like, even if he's literally been to Arm Wars, pulled an entire super match that's been a war, like literally a 25-minute event, arm wrestling, and then Neil's like, oh, someone's injured themselves, they've had to pull out of a match, are you interested? And he's like, heck yeah, sign me up. So he pulls another fresh guy who's been training for like 6 months, he's pumped, amped, ready to go, and Frode's like, yeah, I'll send it. And he's won them.
Wow.
Like, he would just go like, and he's more interested in putting on a show. And same thing, you know, he'll get his hook in and he'll just look at the crowd and a big smile comes on his face and he's like, yeah, you know, and you just, as an opponent watching that, when Frode starts smiling and looking at the crowd and winking at girls in the crowd and stuff, you're like, oh no, like, I've got no chance. He's got time to wink. Yeah.
That's like our match, last one. We had.
The girls in the crowd winking at them? Or?
No, but he was
Well, I mean, Ryan Dalton was there.
Hey. No, you had me in. You were sitting like in not a king's move, but you were under the table like this, and I was like that, but holding on for everything I had. I had nothing left. I couldn't get out of it, and it was maybe a minute. Talking shit to me the whole time.
Yes.
Under the table. You're going, oh, lovely
what were
shoes.
You saying? I can't.
I see you're wearing the Riderwear shoes. And, are those jeans? What sort of jeans are they?
Are they Levi's? Levi 501s or something you said. Yeah.
And that's the closest I've ever come to fainting in my life. I literally, because I slipped out at the bottom, because I wasn't going to quit. I was like, I'm not giving up no matter what. I don't care.
Yeah.
But then I was starting to lose. I'm like, it's going. And then I slipped out the bottom, but it went, and it was a pin anyway. But my body wouldn't react to me, and I was staggering backwards.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was like, what am I, like, stop walking backwards. I couldn't stop. The room was going all white.
Yeah, I remember that. You just stepping back. You're like, I think you walked backwards about 4 meters, and I was like, is he going to stop, or is he just going to continue down the hallway somewhere?
I was trying to stop. I was telling myself to stop. I couldn't, and we kept going. I was like, this is what it's like for somebody who like, does those deadlifts videos, you know, where they
they stand up and then fall over backwards. Yeah.
That's what was me because of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, when somebody's like laughing and you know, talking it up during a match, you're like, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, if they're not like straining and they're starting to put the jokes on, you got nothing.
But there's a place in that so-called King's move when you lay down on your, because I got a very long thumb to wrist, so there's like a platform, and if a guy tries to hold on to that without a strap, you can just kind of relax, you know what I mean? You just have this, like you hook your hand into his and you just like hang there and relax, which is probably not spectator friendly. Unless they have a mic in my face. But
unless they've got like a camera under the table. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. Really loose skin as well, I noticed.
This is a problem. This needs to be addressed.
Less Sharpay butter.
Can I get like a facelift but for my arm so I can have more purchase on the strap, please, doctor? You know?
The Sharpay.
The Sharpay. We need to get rid of the Berserker and less the Sharpay butter.
It's I'm become more evident when I get older. And like,
yeah, you literally, your eyebrows
why do
will
they
be
call
like
him the
down on your
Sharpay?
chin.
And I'm like, I'm coming around the corner, look down.
Your eyebrows are going to be hanging on your cheeks.
Oh my God, I'm just going to look at the table and get my skin out my eyes.
That's legit going to be it. It's getting changed in the chat now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because God was preparing to make a beast, and then this little eel came through. I just guess I'll use what I got.
That's great. What about biggest win of your arm wrestling career?
That'd be a good one.
Probably a guy called Vitblitz.
Okay.
That's that guy that I linked the video, because what he would do, Vitblitz, Reino Oosthuizen, if he ever watches this, he would be fresh and rest, and then we would go to other clubs and just like smash guys and then post the video on Facebook. You know, it was that kind of
Practice champ.
Yeah, but he was quite high up. He was quite high. You know, he was in the top 10 actually, but he can't do anything except flash guys quickly. He's very fast, but he's strong.
Yeah.
A real chunk of muscle there. But then I challenged him, and I don't think he took me seriously. And I just went everywhere with him, you know, in a strap, out of a strap, and he even asked for a hook. And that round was my favorite because I let him start on a hook, And I'm not that great in hook, you know. But
He
I
must
mean,
have been really bad.
he's pretty strong. But I let him. I went into the defense, and he was like hanging on me, and he was like just trying. And then I just brought him back, and I just waited until he gave me the nod, you know. And then I just pinned him in front of his home crowd. That was my favorite. Everyone was like, "Vet Blitz." I was like, hey, that doesn't sound like Buerta. Come on.
That's awesome. Is that his real name? That's
No, that's his nickname, because Vet Blitz means like white lightning. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's fast as hell. The first match actually, just in the first round, and that one just went boom. Because I was still arguing with the ref. I was like, dude, my hand is above his pad, literally. And then we're like, go. And then he like was, oh, what's up? And then I was like, okay, cool, I'll give that one to you. Give me the strap. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's my best. That's my favorite. Yeah.
Sledge.
Hey, I don't think I've been arm wrestling long enough to.
Oh, you would have had best win, your favorite win, or best moment arm wrestling, maybe.
Best win. Yeah, nothing comes to mind.
Beating Leon 3-0? Or was it 3-1?
It's funny. It's funny how like when I come against like Leon on that, and then the first two he just pins me like there's nothing. Like it's like, what am I doing? Am I asleep or what? And then then I have to put the game face on, and then it changes. But I don't know what I actually do to change it. Like it's like your mind goes, hold on, and then it just stops. I'm going, wow. So it must be just something, bit of, I don't know, testosterone maybe, or something, or you go into some
just
deep,
waking up.
because that's what I've noticed. Like bang, I'm like, why'd that happen that quick?
Yeah,
you have to be awake. So,
yeah.
As for best
Old
win,
age.
I don't know. Like, nothing sort of really comes to my mind.
Favorite moment, even.
Favorite moment? Yeah. Oh, it would have to be slowing down.
Mario Tembakus.
Yeah, that was nasty on my left. That actually hurt my left because I really committed in quick and hard and tried to hook in. That hurt my elbow for a long time actually, because I'm not a left puller, but I really tried because you said that he's he's awesome at left, so I just put everything I had into it. But my elbow copped a fair bit. To slow that down.
That surprised him afterwards. After that match, he goes, "Who's that guy?" He goes, "That was really good." Because I didn't tell him, like, because he came before. He's like, "Oh, like, is this guy?" I was like, "Oh, no, he's fairly new. Like, he's only been arm wrestling. Like, I was like 12 months or something. No, like, but it was
that's
like,
true.
It's
true.
I was like, "Oh, no, he's just a new guy in the club. Like, you'll probably be fine with him. Like, but I knew how strong. I knew how strong you were though, and I was like, and it did. You slowed him down, and I was like,
he's very quick. He didn't muck around. Yeah, it was not mucking around. Like, I mean, I'm a new person,
and he's super strong. Yeah,
wow. He is. Yeah, it hurt.
Him biggest win.
So my two favourites are ones that I didn't end up actually winning on fouls, but they were both solid pins. So 2017. Oh no, it wasn't. Sorry, 2018. I went to Sydney and I pulled in their tournament there, their state tournament, and I went in the heavyweights. And there was Mario and a few other guys there, and I pinned Mario.
Wow.
Right arm.
Wow.
And literally the reason it wasn't a pin is because right as I finished at the pin pad, so like we set up and everything, and he went to hit, and I busted his hand back, and I was just like, yes. And when I get excited, I go so hard to the side that I, like, as I pinned, my elbow just popped off the side of the pad. And so they called a restart. And props to Mario, he changed a little bit, and I took his hand again, but he was able to commit his shoulder more, and he managed to get me to the pad. So that was one of my favourites because that was a turning point where I was like, hey, like, I'm actually, like, because I went in the heavies and I was like, I'll probably get smoked, like go 0-2. And I beat one of the favourites there in a match. Didn't end up being the win. And the other was a similar thing at Arnold Classic 2017. Arnold Classic is an invite-only tournament. So it's like the best in the state get invited to go there and compete. It's like best of Australia. And someone pulled out of that, and I got a sort of surprise, hey, do you want to fill in the spot? And I was like, heck yes. I had to lose 8 kilos in about 13, 14 days to make the weight class, because I was planning on just going for fun.
Yeah.
So I did most of it, like, I just cut carbs completely for like those days. And then I only ended up I dropped really fast, and then I ended up having to do like a couple of kilo water cut, which is nothing at my weight. I've done that heaps of times. But I ended up having a cracking tournament, except for fouls. So I lost all of my matches. I think I lost on micro fouls. But I top rolled Charles Puri from New Zealand, who nearly beat Danny the year after.
Wow.
And then I beat Daniel Pervin, who had won the left arm tournament. Sorry, who had won the left-hand tournament the day before, and I took Daniel's hand, top rolled him, and pinned him. And again, same thing, right at the pin pad, elbow nicked off the back, and I was just like, I was devastated. Like I was almost in tears after that because I was so amped. Like I'd come from massive weight cut and everything. So those two are probably my favourites. They're not actually wins in the books. But it was more like, for me, it was just proving. I was like, because both of those guys are really good.
Yeah.
They've smoked me so many other times, and it was just like, to get a couple of good wins was really fun.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah.
What about yourself?
I guess probably my match against you.
the
3-2 one when I won that one. But it comes with the bloody. No, it does, but it comes with an asterisk because I know that you could have beaten me. That's the thing that sucks. And I remember talking about this on the podcast, and I was like, I don't know, like he could have won. Like I don't understand why he didn't top roll me. But that's probably the biggest in terms of because of ranking and all the rest of it. But yeah, I mean matches against Leon and Roman. And Richard, just those testing ones where you don't know where you're sitting, and it's sort of like, because Roman had beaten me in the tournament, and it was like, okay, he was supposed to go against somebody else, and then they pulled out, and then said, oh, well, we can have a match if you want. Yeah, cool. And then it was like last minute thing, but that day, all that was running through my mind was like, I can't lose to this guy, I can't lose to, and I was like, oh man, and I put so much pressure on myself, and then I had to sort of learn quickly like how to reframe it into like, don't worry about what the situation is, just concentrate on what you can do, like the actions that you can take. So that was a good win. And then Leon and Richard as well. So Richard, I think his style just plays perfectly into what I do as a top roller, and he's trying to flop press. It just gives me everything I need straight away. So but favorite moments, I mean, Devin Larratt, and just any time at the club, we always have fun. Like, it's always laughing and being silly, and walk away feeling like we had a great time. So I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint like this was the best thing ever, but there is. I guess some of the big names when Ryan Bowen came down, and getting on with the Apex tournament and seeing some of the interstate guys that had come along. Because originally that was supposed to just be like a inter-club tournament, and then it became like this big thing, and at the Apex Festival, and we had a lot of the big names from around the country come along, and
are we gonna have something like that again?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, for sure.
When?
Well, as soon as we can.
Can you guys wait till I'm number one again? Just wait till I've beaten Taryn at the
from the Apex tournament, because I mean I've only done the states. And we had it here, but the most satisfying win for me, believe it or not, was against Josh.
I
think his name is Josh.
Yeah, he's Newen.
I'm not sure. That was for life, just for me, because I just remembered like in my mind what was my favourite satisfying win was actually against him.
Was that at the Cooper's Ale House?
No. It was Josh. Is it Josh? I think it was Josh at Apex. No.
Sorry, I'm thinking
he's like
of
the
year
under
before.
80 kilo champ
Josh Barker.
or something.
Josh Barker, yes,
right.
here from Sydney.
Yeah, he was, because I haven't been in many tournaments.
He is a weapon.
He was destroying everyone in that thing, and that was the first time that I actually put everything I had in it.
Yeah,
was to make sure that he didn't beat me.
Yeah,
because I would have been devastated.
You would have got beaten by a 73 kilo guy.
Because he was
with your wife and kids around.
No, that was it. That was how you sort of switch on. Like I switched on. Like I mean, with Mario, I knew that I was going to get done, but it didn't. There's no worry feeling or like, oh, I really don't want to lose, but that against him, my mindset was he'd have to rip it off, and break it, and I'd put everything in it. Like that was the only time that I've had that feeling. Like I know there's you get the, but because he's the champ, and he was destroying everyone. It went to a different level.
The 80 kilo class, didn't he?
Oh, his press like in.
How did you stop him? I remember you winning, but I can't remember how you stopped him.
I just gave it.
Did you go inside with him?
No, I think I actually top rolled him through. I didn't hook him. No, it was just straight over, like hard, like everything.
You've got that side pressure that probably would have made him feel like he couldn't quite get it in, like get his press in as well. Like where you're strong.
No, I didn't let him go there because his press is nasty.
Yeah, it's so fast
nasty.
too.
It's a lot. It's so much pressure. Like it's heaps. I've never felt like pain, like bone pain onto your arm.
Yeah,
and he just drops it in the press. That was the after pull bit, but
yeah.
So I just had a lot of speed on him because I just, went into a different zone completely. Yeah, that was the only time like
fast
that I've actually put my mindset to. If you lose, I was gonna. Yeah, more than
if my arm breaks,
that was actually the feeling. I don't care what happens. I'll just give it everything.
Yeah. No, that's sweet. Where were you, Lasney?
Yeah, I don't think.
Why weren't you at the Apex Festival?
Was that 2020?
It was this year, February.
This year, yeah.
Oh, I only came back at the end of March because I it was COVID and I looked at the training videos and everyone was in masks and I was like, okay, so you guys.
Oh, that's right. I think he thought that everything was shut.
He was scared.
I got a bit of fear, but I got a tendon injury. This
process something or another.
Yeah, I don't know. This one was. I pulled myself up the stairs carrying building materials with guys in front of me. I yanked them up the stairs. I was like, come on, this is how you do it. And then when I cooled down, I was like, oh, this is not how you do it, apparently. And then that lasted like, when I started arm wrestling, it was still there, but it was like you and Matt burn me the most because you guys have a very graceful transition to every component in arm wrestling. And you stack it quite high. Like it just burns everywhere. I think that encourages the most blood flow and heals you the most.
Yeah.
Even though we are still going quite hard.
Yeah.
And just arm wrestling a month with you guys feels like it pretty much healed it.
Coming better.
So I probably should have returned earlier, but I was scared because I had a scan and it was a cartilage tear. So
yeah, right. Yeah. So you did actually get it checked out. And
yeah,
right.
Had an ultrasound or whatever, and they said, "Cool, you got cartilage torn at the end of your ulna. Not much we can do about that. Sorry."
Have you had it looked at since to see if it's started?
No.
It'd be interesting to go back and.
I don't want any psycho. If it's completely off, cool. Let's fight, Sledge.
Monday he'll have a look.
Exactly. It's definitely broken. It's just like he's like got his hand detached from his body. It's like I think it's.
The only problem is that since I've been trying to cup since that injury, I have this loose feeling like, it's like the bones sliding past.
Yeah. I had that. That's only just come good recently. Do you remember when I was doing like really heavy barbell wrist curls? So I was getting really strong and progressing really fast on them. I got to the point where I did 110 for 8 reps, and that set
kilos.
Yeah, kilograms. Yeah, on a barbell. So 8 reps, and then that was like the week before Arnold Classic 2019. So I was like, it was like peaked. I was about to rest. I was about a week and a half before, feeling super strong. And rep 5 of that set, my right wrist just like, it made like a crunch noise. And it didn't really hurt. I was just like, oh, that was weird. So I finished off the set. And then the next day I woke up and the backside, like my extensors, the backside of my forearm was like rock hard. Oh. And it was so painful. Like it was literally like touching my arm was like rock hard. And I was like, it had tightened up so much. And so I spent trying to loosen that. I went and saw a physio and didn't really feel that great going into Arnold's. Left hand was a lot better, but right hand, like, because I wanted to hook people. Like I was feeling like really strong prior to that injury. And that injury lasted until just recently. Like it got a bit better. But a lot of the time when I hook on my right, it'll click when I'm trying to set the hook. But recently I've started training my like wrist flexion just with lighter weights, but every single day pretty much. I just train wrist flexion, and since then that clicking's like subsided heaps, which is really good news because after like nearly 2 years of having it like that, where I haven't been able to do wrist curls more than about like 50 kilo before it starts hurting again. So like it's made a huge difference. But I haven't tried barbell again. I've just found other ways to train now. But yeah, it sucks when it goes. It affects heaps.
Yeah, but I had that when I was a teen too. It feels like the the joint just didn't grow together properly.
Yeah.
There's a big gap in there.
Yeah.
So the only cup training I get is when I arm wrestle, train with with the club. No barbell curls or cables because it always flops around in there.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a top roller. That's why I'm a top roller.
I think training your wrist, doing that kind of movement too much is really good for you because I was doing that as well. And then I was hurting myself. Yeah,
I think it depends on how you train. Like, so one thing I sort of ignored, and I think it would have been fine, but I was progressing so fast. So, like, because my hands are basically supinated and I'm resting them on a bench and they were together, what had happened is the bar would be here and it'd be pushing quite hard. Like, the bench is pushing up this way, essentially, and the bar's pushing down that way. So it would be trying to sort of separate my wrist, and they'd be sore, but they wouldn't hurt. Like, so they'd be like, yeah, a bit achy or whatever, but it never hurt, and I kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So I was like, I'll leave it. But what I should have done is probably regulated my training to be a little bit slower progression in that move, because I was literally like pretty much every week I could lift more weight. And I wasn't even being stupid about it. I was just like, man, I feel great. Like, I feel so strong. And this exercise just keeps going up and up and up. In hindsight, I probably should have slowed it down and just given a bit of time for the ligaments and stuff to actually catch up and develop. Because who knows how strong it'd be right now if I had have done that. But
super.
Yeah.
I think it would have.
Like, number one.
I felt strong. Like I before it was injured, there was this guy that came to the club for a short time. He had like insane pronation and back pressure. I don't know. Have you guys ever arm wrestled Ryan McLaren? You would have.
Yes.
You know Ryan, how like he can just like his pronation never falls away. Like he just literally drops and he just goes like and just rolls on forever. There was a guy that was almost like that, and when I was lifting those kind of weights on those wrist curls, I could just wrist flexion. I could just like cover it. And it felt so good to be able to do that. Like, going sideways felt so much easier because my wrist was just so strong. I could just cup straight over his pronation.
Very quiet, the Riverland people.
Yeah, they're sort of back down. I think they still train a little bit, but I know Andrew Centofanti, he's retired pretty much.
Yeah.
Why did he retire?
I think because you smoked him.
I don't think that's it.
I think it is. I think secretly he's probably quite a proud man, and I think...
I don't know, but it's like he was the reigning 2019 national champion, and then we had that match, but it was under kind of poor conditions because lockdowns just started then in the beginning of 2020, and he's after I beat him, he was like, "Cool, I'm gonna train properly and stuff you up."
Yeah. I don't know though. Like I think he had some niggling injuries as well, and I think as well he probably looks at it and goes, like I'm a bit older and I'd have to invest a lot of time, and I don't think he has a lot of time.
He's in his 30s somewhere.
No, he's like mid-40s.
Oh shit, he looks very young.
No, he's an older guy.
Tim Bresnan started arm wrestling when he was 41. Why not? Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Tim Bresnan doesn't have a neck though. He's just a tractor, but
it's hidden under the beard somewhere. Yeah. That's great. All right, well, we might wrap it up there, but we're looking forward to seeing these two guys go on Sunday at the Diamondback Fighting Championship, number 12 at the Adelaide Oval, McGarry Room. Anyone that's interested in getting tickets, have a look on the Diamondback FC website. This man will also be in action. The Viking over here, Tim Graham, he's taking on Leroy Babs. It should be a good time. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll leave it there.
With those 15 inches.
Yeah. All 12 inches.
All 12 inches.